Welcome to all of our podcast listeners, wherever you may be in the world today. We have a wonderful guest with us. She's one of Canada's highest rated clinical psychologists, a public speaker, teacher, and author in the field of mental health and wellness. And in her private practice, she provides a multifaceted treatment approach in treating adolescents and adults suffering from trauma, abuse, mood, anxiety, substance addictions, and related type conditions and disorders, as well as family and couples therapy. So, welcome, Dr. Monica Vermani.
Thank you very much, Steve, for having me.
That is quite a background, and you serve quite a range of patients.
I've been very fortunate since a young age to have great training in wonderful institutions. I started my career in correctional facilities and then moved on to working with mood and anxiety in hospitals. But pretty much I specialize with adults and I work with mood, anxiety, high stress, and traumas.
Okay. Well, here's a little bit more background on Dr. Vermani. In 25 years of private practice, she's treated thousands of patients through supportive psychotherapy, CBT, which I first read about in Why We Sleep. And so I'd like to talk a little bit more about that book. That was very interesting. Cognitive behavioral or behavior therapy, mindfulness meditation, and mindfulness-based stress reduction. The acronym on that is MBSR. And these are the kinds of, I'll read a few more so that we have them. Mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, breath, body, mind. Want to hear about some of these? And eye movement, desensitization, and reprogramming. These are very interesting. These are like acronyms that will probably just flow right off your tongue. A little bit new to me, some of them. In 25 years of private practice, Monica has treated so many patients with these therapies, and it's been a great help for her. So to get started, and for her patients, Monica, tell us about your background, including any turning points in your life that's had a significant impact on you.
So, I do truly feel like I didn't choose the field. The field was kind of laid out for me. And so, I grew up with a parent who had a workplace incident that put him into a trauma of his own. And I grew up with a father that, needed some healing of his own. And I never realized it as a kid, but he definitely had trauma from his workplace incident. And as we grew up together, I became a caregiver in the household. So learning to be a caregiver with my mom, as we grew together, we formed a little team. And I think you just altruistically become this caregiver. And then as I kind of grew up, I enjoyed volunteering in places where I could help. And I started, volunteering at a distress line. And from that, I was working at a department store from a young age. And, some of the people would be like, hey, you know what? You're really kind and you help people out and you should get into that social work or psychology stuff. And then I got into U of T for a science degree. And I chose then to start off with the science degree, the biologies and chemistries. And then as I took psychology and sociology, I took also criminology and women's studies. And that led me to enjoying it and doing so well that I pushed myself a little further. And I got internships and practicums working in shelters with abused women and children, at a correctional facility with women, then men offenders. And as I learned how to work with the extreme populations of suffering, I got to learn how to do everything in the middle. Got some great training at CAMH, Center for Addiction Mental Health, just working with anxiety disorders as well as forensic populations at a Met4 center, and then work with brain and spinal cord injury. People were paralyzed from the neck down or the hip down. Military work, 9/11 work, where I also had meditation. So meditation's been a part of my personal journey since I was a kid with my dad not doing well. And as I learned meditation in the household, as I grew up, mindfulness meditation was a big thing that was being spoken about as I was doing my schooling. And so I started getting more engaged with learning on a certified level through U of T. Mindfulness meditation, mindfulness-based stress reduction, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. And as I worked with military in 9/11, I met these wonderful psychiatrists in New York that were doing a breath, body, mind program that has switched a lot of their practice from doing medication as psychiatrists to doing more breath and body work to help people override symptoms that were physical or negative thoughts, and help empower themselves versus feel depleted and victimized by whatever suffering they were going through. So I've been blessed with so many wonderful
Wow.
mentors and meditation teachers, psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, and I've learned from so many different disciplines that my multifaceted treatment approach is really unique to the individual who's in front of me.
Okay. Wow. What a bag of a number of arrows in the quiver to treat the things that are needed for people. First of all, let's just talk about your book, because you have a lot of this in your book, A Deeper Wellness. Tell us why you wrote the book and who it's for, and basically what's in the book.
Sure. So during the pandemic, my own patient population, got a little bit more stressed out. And as you can tell, the world was on a pause. And that pause and reflection period for some people brought some balance and rest, but for a lot of people brought up to surface their symptoms and their issues. And I found a lot of my own patients wanting more time with me, as well as new patients. There were first responders that were working around the clock, nurses and doctors and firefighters. And then there were people who weren't working at all and having all their traumas surface to the place where they needed to deal with it and attend to it. So I found myself during the pandemic realizing I need to bring some resources that are not just one-on-one with me. And I started working a little bit on my time around my patient care to write articles during the pandemic. So they're under my podcast session on my website, where I have an article. I also read it out loud for people with chronic pain who just want to listen to it. There was also a meditation I recorded per week. As I was doing this, I realized a book would be handy, and a lot of my patients wanted like a workbook, and I'd give them exercises. Then I took my own exercises and some of the work I was doing writing these articles, and I decided to write A Deeper Wellness, which is conquering stress, mood, anxiety, and traumas, which was on a, forefront and a high during the pandemic. And so the book is actually a workbook. It's more than reading it. It's actually engaging with it. And wherever you are at, whatever age you're in, bracket wise, you will find yourself being able to work with this book and work through on a deeper wellness, how to be a higher, better version of yourself. Deep down inside, I think that's the purpose we're all here for, to learn how to be higher, better versions of ourselves. And sometimes self-help tools are good. Because I do this work day after day, I know what people are looking for. I also know the hot topics people struggle with: anger, understanding symptoms, panic disorder, anxiety, people pleasing, putting others ahead of ourselves, losing focus, being distracted. And the book covers many top topics of you working through wherever you're at and conquering your symptoms, as well as alleviating them and bringing them down through, techniques, cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, or looking at challenging thoughts, looking at also understanding hot topics like guilt or boundary setting or, anger, and really understanding on a psychological front, why am I getting angry? Why am I feeling guilty? Why am I feeling addicted? Why can't I break this habit? Why am I procrastinating? So I took the hot topics, put them in a book with exercises. And I also have an online platform that has life lessons for people who don't want to read and work through it, to just watch little videos with a handout and a worksheet. During that time, my TED Talk came out, which is Think About It, Thoughts Are Powerful Things. Good or bad, everything ever created started with a thought. And so many times we need to look at the power of our thoughts. And that's a little bit about what cognitive behavioral therapy does. It reframes and reconceptualizes narratives or thoughts. And so that TED Talk has leveraged the book. The book's also leveraging the TED Talk. And in October, I'll have a masterclass on Think About It. Thoughts are powerful things, and how to reframe negative thoughts to more positive ones using a systematic approach.
Okay, so yeah, amen. What we think about is what determines what we do, our behavior, right? And that gives us the results we get. So if someone's having trouble with positive thoughts, and they're really troubled with anxiety or some things that may be worrying them, it could be a relationship, it could be a work conflict that they're having, or they have a personal issue. Maybe somebody, died and that was really important to them. How do they get the right thoughts going? What's your recommendation?
So, Steve, the first step to treatment, regardless of who you are and what you're going through, is awareness. And so I actually have a little whiteboard here I can pull out. In the book, I describe my way of explaining symptoms. And so any problem in life, all the wonderful problems you just gave me, grieving, self-esteem, anxiety, depression, money problems, self-esteem issues, social struggles, work problems, school issues, whatever you want to consider as a problem in your life that is holding you back from living your life authentically, you can put on this table, and every problem will always manifest in your life in three distinct ways. The first way things manifest in your life is physical or physiological: headaches, muscle aches, abdominal distress, constipation, diarrhea, heart palpitations, crying, sensitivity, irritability, angry outbursts, eating too much, eating too little, sleeping too much, sleeping too little, panic attacks. The list goes on, fatigue. Second way things show up in your life are cognitive, negative thoughts. 0 to 10, you're not born in that world. You're born in a household. The way mom and dad love each other is love. The way mom and dad fight is conflict resolution. We learn a lot of narratives and belief systems from our upbringing. And then as we grow, we have life experiences that we sometimes personalize the hard ones. And so I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm a failure. I'm unlovable. I'm unworthy, not feeling worthy and deserving of better. So thoughts about you, your world, your capabilities, relationships, how to cope come here. And then the third way things show up in your life is behaviorally, lifestyle habits. So you got physical symptoms head to toe, negative thoughts racing in your head. What does it look like in your life? Eating too much, eating too little, sleeping too much, sleeping too little, alcohol and drugs, none of these guys here, we do it here. Avoidance, denial, procrastination, staying in a bad relationship, putting up with abuse, rage and angry outbursts of our own, porn addictions, food addictions, overcompensating, people pleasing, procrastination, like I said, staying in a job that's not good, not asking for that raise, dropping out of school, and the list goes on. So the three of these keep your problems standing in life. You go to your medical doctor, they might break this leg and give you medication. Medication throws a blanket over your physical symptoms to dampen them and do some genetic repair, but it doesn't really change the dynamics in your life. So a lot of what I do as a clinical psychologist is CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I reframe the thoughts and the negative behaviors that you might be stuck in habit as self-soothing. I also teach meditation, which on a physical front is sitting with symptoms instead of always looking to numb and get away from them. And EMDR, as you mentioned earlier, is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. That's about me helping you go into your own memories to figure out what physical symptoms led to negative thoughts and behaviors that you formed from difficult childhood or difficult experiences in life. By you going into certain memories where you formed these negative cognitions and thoughts, we can reframe them easier and understand where you personalized something that had nothing to do with you. So, we all have a dynamic going on, and the first step to treatment is always awareness. When you understand this, it feels more manageable. Otherwise, we live with all of these symptoms within us, and it can feel quite overwhelming. The book, one of the chapters goes over this table and helps you understand how to break down your symptoms to understand how they're presenting, and then baby steps, slow and steady wins the race. Let's, take on one of these symptoms and work through it with a solution that allows you to be a higher, better version of you. And many of us need to realize that one way to better ourselves is also to envision good for you. I always tell patients, if I had a magic wand and I can take away your problems, where would you like life to go? And I try to take you from where you are to where you want to go. That gap between where you are to where you want to go is just your symptoms. Understanding how to bridge the gap is where the gold comes in. And that's what this book's about, bridging the gap between where you are and where you want to be.
So you're saying then, as you think about issues that any of us may confront in life, you want to really be very aware of what the issue is. Is that what you're saying?
Being aware of the impact of the issue in your life. So the first
physiological,
let's look at, how does anxiety or depression or sadness or anger manifest in your body? What does it feel like in your stomach? Heart palpitations, crying, sensitivity, irritability, panic attacks, where symptoms go up and down. Your mind's foggy and you think about things over and over and you can't sleep and you can't stop thinking about something. What's going on a physical front, on a negative thoughts front? What are the thoughts that rotate in your head that make you feel less than? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not capable. And what are some negative behaviors you do that keep you stuck? Like maybe isolation, withdrawal, not seeking the help you deserve, not asking for help, not going to your medical doctor, self-medicating, using drugs, alcohol, procrastination, keeping too busy.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes overworking is a symptom of us escaping from our bigger problems in life, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about sleep, and Dr. Walker and Why We Sleep talked about the CBT as one of the most important medicines. Although it's not a medicine, it's cognitive behavior therapy. And he was sharing in the book that most medications actually are sleep pills are counterproductive. And he said, so the starting point is the CBT. Can you describe how that can be helpful for someone that may have trouble going to sleep?
So understand, whenever we have physical symptoms, we also have negative thoughts related to those symptoms. And so think about how we can stay the whole day busy, busy, busy and distracted and run away from our anxiety. But when you lie in bed, you're vulnerable. And when you lie in bed, trying to put yourself to sleep, you're trying to de-escalate from go, go, go mode to a place of rest. And when you de-escalate in that silence where you're alone, up comes bubbling up sometimes negative thoughts that you don't address in the day, or you distract yourself and you stay away. So a lot of people may have generalized anxiety disorder where they lie in bed and they're ruminating, thinking over and over about all their problems, worst case scenarios, catastrophizing about things, not feeling good enough. And so in that place of, rest, where we're supposed to go into a place of replenishing and rejuvenating, we end up spending a lot of time ruminating and thinking about things and escalating symptoms at a time that we should be de-escalating and resting. Realize that a healthy quality of life is 8 hours work, 8 hours play, and 8 hours sleep. 1/3 of your day is in sleep because you are repairing the wear and tear on your nervous system. You are repairing, the wear and tear on your muscles and your body. And if you can't sleep at night because in that quiet, everything that you haven't addressed with is bubbling up, that's a problem. Anxiety comes in, negative associations tied to sleep comes in. Many of us dread going to sleep because we know we're not going to have a good quality of sleep. And some people have physiological issues like sleep apnea, can't breathe properly. They might be drinking alcohol to take the edge off the stress. Alcohol is a depressant. It can give us broken sleep at night, or you're using drugs, same thing. Weed can be a depressant. If you're eating or exercising a lot before bed, you're escalating yourself and stimulating yourself. We don't understand, but sleep hygiene is very important. And a part of healthy sleep hygiene is paying attention to the thoughts tied to association with sleep, but also what comes up when you lie in bed. Some of us can say we fall asleep right away, and some of us feel like it's a miserable place where your mind's racing and you don't know how to settle it.
Okay, good. And so how would you use cognitive behavior to prevent that? And you just shared a few of the things, the habits. Are those examples of the CBT?
So some of them are, and realizing good sleep hygiene is understanding patterns related to sleep that are unhealthy that we reinforce, such as eating before bed or being too stimulated by being on our devices. If you're stimulating yourself, how are you supposed to calm yourself down? Secondly, if we overwork, you go, 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 and you jump into bed, well, that's not healthy. You got to go, 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 and then find a way to de-escalate, to come to a state of calm, to come to a state of being ready for bedtime, watching calming things, soothing music, chamomile tea, maybe, making your bedroom one of those environments that you look forward to going into bed. And your bed should be sleep or recreational activities. If you're not having intimacy, you should be asleep, which means you shouldn't be reading books. You shouldn't be on your devices. You shouldn't be watching TV in bed even. It's important for us to recognize what are habits that I'm reinforcing. So that's the behavior part in the CBT, looking at unhealthy behavior habits that we can reframe for healthier habits, like not eating before bed, not exercising before bed, reducing all technology use 2 hours before bed, maybe even bringing in healthy habits like, melatonin, or bringing in chamomile tea, or using magnesium. There's a lotion that you can put under your feet that just helps you calm down, or taking magnesium, learning how to really bring in healthy habits for sleep. And then on a thought front, breaking any negative thoughts you have about sleep. If you have this sense of dread, well, obviously you're not looking forward to it. And then negative thoughts that come with sleep, where you're afraid to fall asleep because you're worried about these negative thoughts creeping in, and learning how to reconceptualize looking forward to rest, having love and compassion for yourself, having love and compassion for the content, maybe doing a guided meditation where you're replacing negative thoughts with more positive ones, replacing negative dialogues and narratives with more soothing, calming, reaffirming affirmations that you are going to bed, doing progressive muscle relaxation where you relax every muscle of your body. It's like counting sheep in some ways. Instead of ruminating on the negative thoughts, take charge of your thoughts, focus on your breathing patterns, relax, but also look at the content that you can replace, which might be following a guided meditation, might be imagining, where you would like your life to ideally go, and bringing yourself to a place of, love, compassion for symptoms too. And so CPT is like reframing the thoughts around sleep, but also the thoughts related to the content that ruminates when you wake up in the middle of the night. Some people say, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about work. Well, let's find healthy habits where you can bring yourself back from work and say, here and now, all is well. Affirmations even, to reaffirm here and now. How do I stay here versus thinking about tomorrow morning? I'm not there yet. Right. And these are skill building. Like, our parents don't teach us sometimes healthy skills because they don't have them for themselves. It's not about blaming mom and dad, but we do the best we can with what we know. It's important for you to take charge of your life, to know more by maybe visiting professionals, reading blogs and workbooks that are centered around how do I take charge to improve things. Cognitive behavioral therapy is a lot about reframing negative thoughts, challenging them, and then reconceptualizing them to be more positive and uplifting, so that you feel in charge of your life versus powerless and worthless.
Okay, well, thank you for that answer. In a couple of the chapters of your book, one we've already talked about, putting your problems on the table, and that's the starting point of working through them, understanding them, being aware, and then using some of the things that you've recommended that we've talked about today. I notice you also have a chapter called Communication, which seemed to be dealing a little bit with anger. So why do you call it communication?
So, the biggest and best person we have to learn how to communicate well with is ourselves. We all have a tendency to play a lot of games, do a lot of, manipulation and self-sabotage or harm by dismissing the truth about our symptoms and the truth about how something may be a problem. And so the first step to treatment is awareness. And I think the first person you have to learn how to be honest and communicate openly with is yourself. Being honest with how things in your life may be feeling out of control, how maybe certain symptoms are a bigger problem. And I tie it in with anger, because anger is a blanket word. Anger, happy, sad, nervous. These are like blanket words. They cover a lot of territory, but they don't give you specifics. And so to me, that word anger, we all have our own notion in our mind of what anger is. But if you break it down like a funnel, anger can be coming from so many other places that are real feelings about yourself. Anger is never about the other person. It's about what gets elicited in us. So it's about communicating to yourself, when I'm angry, what's really coming up? So anger can stem from love. Anger can stem from being frustrated, feeling not good enough, not lovable, not worthy, feeling bored, feeling insecure, feeling inadequate, feeling stupid, feeling embarrassed, feeling betrayed, feeling guilty. Anger can stem from a place of feeling a loss of control, from feeling denied, from feeling, inadequate, can come from a place of feeling dismissed, a lack of joy. It's important for us to realize that what is really happening. So for example, I'll give you an example. I had somebody talking about dating this morning, so I'll bring that example in. Is, when you're when you start meeting somebody, so I'll even go further. I'll use one of my own examples. My dad used to say something lovely like, if you spit on the ground, do you ever lick it up? And I'm like, ew, no. And he said, when you say something, you stick to it. So this is one of my core beliefs or my thoughts, that if I say something, I'm going to stick to it. And so, having that growing up as a belief system, I'm growing up and I hypothetically start going on a date with somebody, online date. I go on this date and it's a person I like, and we start talking, and the person says, I'm going to call you tonight. And I wait and I don't get a call. Anger bubbles up. But my anger is not at the person because I'm angry. My anger is coming from, I have this narrative and story of when you say something, you do it. And this person said something and didn't do it. But because it's new dating, I don't want to rock the boat, so I don't say anything. I suppress it and people please. But I do tell the person as we get to know each other that, hey, I didn't appreciate you telling me you were going to call me and you didn't call me. Now, fast forward, we're dating for 6 months. He knows if I expect him to do what he says and commit to it. And 6 months later, he's like, I'm hanging out with the guys. I'll give you a call at the end of it, and doesn't call me again. He might have lost track of time or whatever, but I'm angry because now I'm insecure. Has he met somebody else that night? I might be having other things bubble up where under my anger is frustration that I've told him over and over that bothers me, and he's not listening to me. I'm feeling unseen, I'm heard, I'm feeling unvalued. I might be having other feelings of inadequacy come in, or feelings of, anxiety of like, what if something bad happened? And that's why he didn't call me. Fast forward even longer. 5 years go by. We're married. We have kids now. And he says, I'm going to go out with the guys and I'll give you a call to tell you when I'm coming home. And I get no call. Now I know he just loses track of time. Maybe he has ADD or something, and he just doesn't mean to harm me. But I'm still angry. But this time I'm angry because we have kids and we have a family. And what if something bad happened? I don't know where he is. He didn't call me. So now it's coming from a place of concern, maybe from a place of insecurity. What if he met somebody else? I'm less attractive since I had kids. And realize that anger is never about the person. That person's been the same all the way through. But what's coming out of me changes by my phase of life, changes by who I am and what work I'm doing on myself. Am I working on my self-care and my self-esteem that I feel good about me, to not project it on others? People don't mean to make you angry. Many times we're personalizing their behaviors because we have standards or narratives and we're having a clash. And so it's important for us to realize, like, what is underneath my anger? The person might be frustrating me, but really, what is really bothering me? And that's about healthy communication to yourself. I'm feeling insecure right now. I'm feeling inadequate. I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling not good enough. And addressing that. Because if you communicate to yourself well, you can communicate to your partner well. Because when my partner comes home at midnight and didn't call me, instead of me losing my temper and getting angry and making this worse, I can say, honey, I love you. But when you don't call me, I worry, I get frustrated, I feel insecure, I wonder where you are. I start imagining what's life going to be like if you died on the street and I don't know where you are. And he's like, whoa, you go through all that? Well, I'm going to try to make a sincere effort to call you, because obviously what goes on underneath your anger is something I have to help you with. And so we're teams, right? We should help each other. But the first step is always awareness of what's really bothering me. And when you work on yourself, some of what bothers you shifts in presentation. So anger is a blanket word. It doesn't tell you as much, but if you go deeper, you'll see what you're really angry about and what's being elicited in that scenario.
Well, that was, I love what you just described. And all that's in your book, and what to do about it?
Yes, it is.
All right. Well,
the book is great at helping you dissect things that are daily triggers, whether it's people, it's situations, it's feeling inadequate, it's working on learning meditation, wherever you're at. You could be a beginner or an advanced person. It's about helping you learn, how can I go inwards and be a better person? There's a quote I love to live by: being well adjusted to a sick society is unhealthy. We sometimes raise our kids to be well adjusted to a competitive society that, overworks, overstretches, and puts external instead of internal value. So we look for many times external validation when we have to learn how to bring more awareness to our internal traits and learn how to self-soothe and value ourselves first and foremost. It's one of my big quotes is don't give from an empty well, give from your overflow. Take care of you, whether it's working on yourself with a therapist or self-help books. Learn how to work on you so you can be a better person for others. When you're in pain and suffering with symptoms, you spill over onto others. And when you're in a place of health, there's a ripple effect
Yeah.
that affects
Yeah.
others. That ripple effect is important. You want a better world, start with you.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, I can't believe we're out of time. Already done.
Oh.
Wow. How can people find out about what you're doing, Dr. Vermani?
I'm everywhere on the social media world. So you can go to my website, drmonicavermani.com, and Vermani is Vermani. You can go to my website. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube. And so please do. There's lots of wonderful mental health tips and content on how you can improve yourself to be a higher, better version of you. You want your loved ones to work on them. Sometimes the best way to motivate them is working on yourself.
Okay. And this is a workbook. Does it happen to be an Audible or?
I definitely did that for my chronic pain patients and people who don't like to read and work on a workbook. I have this also in Audible. There's translated there. It's also great to have firsthand just to work through the exercises. And you can get this book on Amazon as well as on my website.
Wonderful. Well, great. Thank you for being with us, joining us. Monica, it's been a delight. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your experience, and the practical applications. I'm sure all of us, whether in our own life or those that we associate with, can benefit from applying what you've talked about today.
Thank you very much for having me, and I hope you all enjoy the tips.
Okay, and for our listeners, it's been great being with you. Always a privilege, and we wish you the best in all that you're doing. You are, as you work on becoming your best, your higher, better self. In the very process, you bless all of those people around you. So we wish you a great day. This is Steve Schallenberger, your host, signing off.